Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas, the morning edition. We're back again, and thank you for watching us. You are a gasaholic. Growing up, I would get as many magazines as my allowance would allow me to, and one of the more popular ones for me was Popular Mechanics. Well, I didn't want to become a mechanic. I don't know. I don't think so, but I did want to know mechanical things. Now, Mechanics Illustrated was always a good one, but Popular Mechanics was my top one to read. And they've come up with a list of what they say are the top 100 cars that have made a difference in the industry. The most exciting cars in the world, they say. Well, all right. Well, let's take a look at that. One of the cars they list is the Shelby GT 500 CR. Most people know that as Eleanor, and I agree. All of the Shelby cars are amazing machines, and they took the Mustang, which was pretty good to start with, and made it even better. The GT 500 CR is an epitome of what Mustangs could become. Stylish, excellent handling for the time, excellent performance for the time. Now, you got to remember, you've got to put these things in perspective, because what was right and top of the line in 1960s gets blown off the road by a hybrid today. So look at it in perspective as to what the car was when it was first produced. So the Shelby GT 500 CR, definitely a hot one. Now they're saying the Bentley EXP 100 GT, an electric concept car. Okay. It looks nice. It's cool looking, but you ever seen one on the street? No, because it was a prototype. So, we'll throw that one out. Bugatti Chiron. Now, this car is legendary in the automotive enthusiast areas because it did 300 miles an hour. A production car. Now, put it in perspective. If you've got $3 million in cash, you can buy one of these. If you can spend $20,000 on an oil change, you can buy one of these. If you can spend another $20,000 to $30,000 for tires, you can buy one of these. I can't. I don't know anyone who could. Is it a popular car? Among the enthusiasts for what it was able to achieve. Are you going to see a lot of them on the road? No, never have. Jaguars. All Jaguars to me are great machines. Not the most reliable, but stylish. Engineering excellence. Reliability, well, typical British. Jaguar XJS from 1975 through 1996. This is an iconic car. Styling is beautiful. It rode well with a V12. This baby was a killer muscle machine. And they even raced them and did quite well in Trans Am racing because that V12 was 5 liters. Camaros. Now, they're saying the 66 to 69, the first generation Camaro, was an iconic machine, and there's no question about that. It's so iconic, they're even making reproductions of them. You can build a brand new 69 Camaro and never touch a real Chevrolet part. There are so many reproduction parts. The complete body from Dynacore is available in a convertible, and I think maybe even a coupe. You can build a brand new Camaro and never use a factory Chevrolet part. And it would be a cool car regardless, and it is. Now here's a car that I'm a fan of Lotus as well. I'm a fan of a lot of cars. But the Lotus Esprit, 1993 to 2004. Many people remember it as the submarine car in James Bond. But this car was very, very exciting styling. It was probably one of the best styled Lotuses in my mind. And my mind is different anyway. But the Lotus Esprit, originally with a 4-cylinder engine, still a stylish car, but then they went to twin-turbo V8s, and this car became a legitimate exotic machine. Ford GTs, any Ford GT, Although they're saying 2005 and 2006, the second generation Ford GT, not the GT40, but the GT, because GT40, they couldn't use the name GT40. Apparently, they didn't have the rights to it. So when Ford came out with it, a GT. Jaguar V12 was 5.3, okay, or 6-liter. There we go. Thanks, Sam. I knew you have the information. All right, the GTs, any Ford GT, GT40, or the two subsequent GTs that have come out, they are amazing cars. Hands down, some of the best GT cars ever produced. Cadillacs. 1959 is the one that Popular Mechanics says is the most iconic, and I kind of agree. It was total excess. The biggest fins in the industry. Those bullet taillights. Those bullet taillights are so popular, hot rodders find ways of incorporating them in their cars today. They're in reproduction. You can get them. But the 59 Cadillacs, what an amazing car. Now, this is a car that also you had to have a special garage for because it was so long, it didn't fit in a regular garage. Bugattis. Now, Bugattis, we talked about the Chiron just a moment ago, but the original Bugattis. These are classic automobiles of such stature. They are just amazing cars. So, although Popular Mechanics is saying 1934 to 1940 models, I think any early original Bugatti is an amazing car. Jaguar. Yeah, we know about those. Noble M12. Now, first off, you've really got to be a hardcore automotive enthusiast to know what the heck a Noble is, because we just don't see them. But it is an amazing GT car, beautiful design and styling, classic in design, not radical, and it's a good-looking car. Look it up, the Noble M12. Vipers. I'll tell you what, this is a car, I don't care what year Viper you look at. The Dodge Viper is an amazing machine. It is definitely something that, well, it gets the blood flowing. That V10 has such a unique sound and torque, and those cars run great. Now, I have a friend that's had a couple of these, and they love them, but they're Mopar enthusiasts, and they don't drive anything but Mopars. But, well, it is such an iconic car. It is a rough and ready GT car. This is a GT car it's got roll-up windows, but I would class this car with an original Shelby Daytona Coupe. And that is kind of what it's modeled after. Mercedes-Benz 540Ks, 1935 to 1940. Very, very beautiful machine. How many have you seen? Mustangs. Now they're saying Mustang Boss 302, but frankly, just about every Mustang, other than the little six-cylinder cars, have a soft spot in my head anyway, because they are iconic machines. They are the cars that really gave the pony car a name. Well, because it's a Mustang. But Camaros, Barracudas, Challengers, Mustangs, these are pony cars. They created a niche market that expanded and grew exponentially. Ford didn't even predict how accepted the Mustang would be, and it just blew the doors off anything that they were ever to produce to this day. Mustang, an iconic machine. The Boss 302, very well built, balanced machine. Volvo P1800. Now, if you don't know what this is, you really got to look at them, because they were a cool, very stylish sports car. The first time I saw one was on the TV show The Saint with Roger Moore, and I fell in love with the car at that point. In high school, a buddy of mine had one, and that's when we found out they used the same bolt pattern as a Ford, and he was able to put Ford mag wheels on there, American 5-spokes, with a Ford bolt pattern. Got a little bit wider. Man, that thing really looked good. Powerhouse? No. Cool car to drive? You bet. And they produced these for a number of years, even a station wagon version at one point. The Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. This is an iconic car for Volkswagen enthusiasts, and they have become somewhat expensive over the years. Their downfall, a one-piece body. Fenders do not come off. Quarter panels do not come off. Doors, hood, trunk lid. Those are the only removable parts of the body. Finding one that is in good shape, that hasn't been crashed, is a tough part. And you find these today, a lot of Bondo with them. Because, again, there is no body parts that are replaceable other than the door, the trunk, and the hood. So find a good one. They're great, good handling cars. Had a buddy set one up, and he used to love to tease Porsches with it. After all, it kind of was a poor man's Porsche Speedster with roll-up windows, too. Ferrari 360 Modena. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It replaced the aging 355. Any Ferrari, guys. I don't care what it is. Every Ferrari has had influence in the automotive market. The Nissan GTRs, the current one, all-wheel drive, turbocharged V6. These things right out of the box are 7-second, 8th-mile race cars. They are stable. They are solid, well-respected in the community. You got to watch them. They're quick. They're saying the C1 Corvettes, 1953 to 1962. These are the solid axle Corvettes. Now, this car, styling-wise, I can't challenge you on that. These Corvettes were great. Did they set the stage for what was to become a sports car icon in the industry? Oh, yeah, they did. Did they have shortfalls? Oh, plenty. A Chevrolet sedan front suspension through 1967 for the most part, or 68, actually through the third generation. They used the same basic front suspension that had been developed for their sedans back in the late 1940s, early 1950s. Solid axle through 1962. Didn't go to disc brakes until the mid-1960s. The downfall of the Corvette in racing was the braking systems. Braking was not adequate for the weight and size of the car. Performance? The six-cylinder was pretty good for the time, but it was only mated to a Power Glide automatic transmission. Not the best thing to do, not when you're trying to capture a sports car market, and their first-year sales saw that. It was dismal. Less than 500 cars sold in 1953. Now, the Corvette body style stayed the same through 1955, but in 55 they did put the 265 V8 in it, giving it the needed power to make it a true sports car with significance. Although the body styling, it's iconic. You can't beat it. I'm Mark McGeorge. How are you doing? Brett Mandela, Jay Thomas. Alfa Romeos, the Spiders. Now, they're saying only 1966 to 69, but frankly, any Alfa Spider is cool. Now, the last of them, the 66 to 69s, what they call the Series 1, they're okay. I like the styling of them. They are very pleasing. Even the big bumper ones that came out later on in the flat tail, I like that car as well. But in typical Alfa Romeo fashion, Alfa has been able to make owners into mechanics for decades. Porsche Carrera GT 2004 to 2007. It's a V10 powered machine that is quite capable of knocking your socks off. Excellent car, excellent handling car. You're not going to see very many of them, if at all. Lamborghini Diablo. Any Lamborghini to me is an exciting car, just like Ferraris. Picking out just one and saying it is iconic, nah, can't do it. Now here's a car many people might miss. The Hudson Hornets. The Hudson Twin H 6-cylinder. Dominated NASCAR. 6-cylinder. They beat the Oldsmobile V8s. They beat the Chevy V8s. They beat the Ford V8s. Hudson was a better car than it was ever given credit for. Of course, its styling wasn't the best. Well, it was okay. Their bathtub design, they refined it a little bit. But Hudson, becoming part of American Motors, was put aside and put to sleep. And it went away. But the Hudson Hornet, great reputation. The 55 through 57 Ford Thunderbird. Their two-seat not a sports car. Ford never called the Thunderbird a sports car. They called it a personal luxury car. And it was. It was a very capable machine. It didn't handle the best, again, using Ford sedan technology, but it was good. It was stylish. Was it fast? Yeah, pretty much for the times. 272, 292, 312 engines, supercharged. It was a good car. But Ford found when they added a back seat, sales took off. The two-seat market was limited. And when Thunderbird became a four-seat, the Square Birds in 1958, sales skyrocketed. But again, the two-seat Thunderbird, very iconic and definitely a car that made a difference. All right, buy a car, get a case of Coke. I saw that ad from one of the dealers that I used to call on in Denver. He sold DeLoreans, and when John Z got busted, they put an ad. They figured, oh, these cars are going to go down the tubes. We're not going to make them anymore. We got to get rid of what we got. So they had a full-page ad in the Denver newspaper. It is, buy a DeLorean, get a case of Coke, and it was Coca-Cola in a wooden case. It was interesting. DeLorean was a beautiful-looking car. Now, I got to meet John Z and see the original DeLorean prototype along with the production car. At one point in time, DeLorean was basing his headquarters in California, and I worked for BMW at their Western regional office. We had recently emptied the office and the parts warehouse to move it to a different location, and DeLorean found out that that area was for rent. So he came in with his entourage, a big rig truck, unloading both the prototype and the production car, and we got to see them firsthand. The pre-production car, the prototype, was better than the production car. It was smaller. It was more agile. It was better engineered by the guys at Lotus. But it was harder to produce. And as such, the second DeLorean that came out, or the car that actually hit the streets, was the one that everyone knows of and remembers. Beautiful cars. They had their quirks. They had their problems. They're in production now, or they're trying to produce them now. There's a company down in Texas that has the rights and bought up all the surplus parts they could. And they can actually build you a new DeLorean. They're looking at producing a newer DeLorean. And who knows? It may come to fruition. But with a lot of horsepower, which is one of the things the original DeLorean was lacking. A Lamborghini, again, any Lamborghini is exciting. Austin Healey. Donald Healey came up with some beautiful sports cars. And they're saying the Austin Healey 3000 from 59 to 67 is the most iconic. You know what? The first Austin Healey's, the Austin Healey's 100s, the four-cylinder powered ones, were still visually pretty darn close to the 3000. Different grills, a little bit longer body, but still iconic. So I'll go any big Healey. Any big Healey's iconic. BMW M1. Now, this was a beautiful car from BMW. It was a race car in street trim. I was lucky enough to drive a couple of these, and they were just beautiful and smooth. The BMW M1, as far as I can see, BMW has never come up with another car that is at the level the M1 was. They had a whole race series of M1s too, and they did quite well at Daytona and other tracks. But the BMW M1, what a beautiful car that was. The Honda S2000. Well, okay, it's a Honda. It's a two-seat sports car, little four-cylinder engine, runs to 9,000 RPM. With its six-speed manual transmission, you got to shift that thing all the time to keep it in the torque curve. Nicely styled car, expensive, but it's got a good following because it is a Honda. The Lotus Elise. And again, I love almost every Lotus. There isn't a Lotus out there I don't like. The Lotus Elise from 2005 to 2011 is a very exciting little car. Toyota 1600 twin cam in the back. These cars handle exceptionally well. But unless you're 5'4", they're very difficult to get in and out of. I have a friend that has one. He got rid of a Jag XKE and bought one, but he's 5'6", and he said, well, get in the car. And it took me a while with the top off to get in this car. It is a tight little go-kart with a body on it. Again, another Ferrari. They're saying the F40, iconic, no question about it. SS cars, SS 100. The long-hooded SS became known as the Jaguar. And this was a car, think of an MG midget, the original midget, or TD or TC on steroids. And that's what you've got for the original SS car, which became the Jaguar. Beautiful machine. Triumphs. Now, I like all Triumph sports cars, but they're saying the Triumph Spitfire was significant, and it was. It was a low-dollar, entry-level sports car that you could get into. 4-cylinder, clamshell hood that just opened the whole front, tilted forward so you can get to the engine, independent rear suspension. It was quite a little car, and it competed against the MG Midget and the Austin Healey Sprites, but it was a step above them. As a matter of fact, in racing, it raced in a different class because it was that much faster and better handling. BMW has another car that was high on the list, and that was the Z8. 1999 through 2003. It was a V8-powered, two-seat sports car. You don't see very many of them. They were expensive for the time, but it was a beautiful, beautiful sports car. Talbot Lago T150. These were exceptionally stylish cars, and I can agree. Definitely a significant car. Another Porsche, they're saying the 918. Lincoln Continental. Now, they're specifically talking about the 1961 to 69, and the unique part about that was they brought back suicide doors. The four-door convertibles and the four-door sedans or hardtops, the back doors opened backwards. So you could open both front and rear doors, and neither got in the way. Very iconic. I do love the styling of this. Lincoln sharing the basic platform with the Thunderbird of the same era, but much bigger car, heavier than can be, but definitely iconic in the industry. Alfa Romeo 4C. This is their latest sports car, and it is very neat. It kind of looks like a customized Lotus to me, but it is a fine little sports car. We don't get to see them here in the States. I don't know why they're not bringing them in, other than it's cost prohibitive. The Z car, the Nissan 240, 260, and 280Z. Now, Popular Mechanics is only going as far as 1973, and that would be the 240, and then halfway through 73, the 260Zs. These were the small bumper cars. This was sometimes affectionately called the Japanese Jaguar. It had all the amenities that you'd get in a Jag XKE, independent front and rear suspension, inline overhead cam 6-cylinder, one cam versus two, 2.4 liters, light in weight, fast, and fun. The 240Z put Nissan on the map in the United States for sports cars. They had a Roadster before that, got good notice, but when the 240Z hit the streets, Nissan was on top, and no one has been able to capitalize on a low-cost GT car like this as Nissan did. Now, in Japan, the car was called the Fair Lady. Mr. K, who was in charge of Nissan USA, who was exiled here to the United States because, well, he was a bit of a rebel, said, "We're not calling this car a Fair Lady." And he took the engineering code and called it the 240Z. 2.4 liter 6-cylinder engine, the Z car became an iconic machine, and today they have gone up in value. Just about 5 years ago, you could pick one up for $3,000-$4,000 in good shape. Today, $20,000 barely gets you a good one. And Nissan even got into the act for a while, buying out a repair shop in the Los Angeles area by LA Airport, LAX, and started restoring these cars using the tub and then replacing everything underneath with new or remanufactured components. At the time, it's $20,000, which was a hefty sum, and the program didn't go over well. They were planning on 200 cars, and I think they only got about 100 produced. It was just a little ahead of its time. Today, if they did that same car for $20,000, they'd have a line around many blocks trying to get them. Another Ferrari comes up, this one the Testarossa from 84 to 96. Another Triumph hits the mark, the TR6, 1969 to 76. Although the doors look like they came off a TR4, the chassis basically the same, TR4 IRS, independent front and rear suspension, but that nice little 6-cylinder inline motor, overdrive manual transmission, drop top, optional removable hardtop. These were cool and beautiful cars. Unfortunately, emissions and Triumph reliability killed the Triumph marque here in the United States. Lexus LFA. Yeah, okay. Morgan +4. Actually, any Morgan. 50 to 61. The Morgan's iconic styling still pretty much the same as it was when they were first introduced. Now, Morgan got its first introduction to the public with that little motorcycle-powered machine with the engine that sat up in front. But later on, they came out with the +4 and using the same engine that you could find in a Triumph TR3. This handmade body, still being done today the same way, is iconic, and it is true British royalty. Another Lamborghini hits the skids, the Huracan, 2014 to present. Yeah, nice looking car. Bunch of them were at the car show this weekend in Malibu. Aston Martin DB6. Actually, it got its popularity because of being in the James Bond movies. But Aston Martins are beautiful cars. Expertly built, beautiful styling, neat, expensive. Iconic? Yeah. Another Lotus comes up. This is the Elite, 1958 to 63. This was a cool-looking little sports car. And, you know, little coupe. It was neat. It was good. 1,100 pounds, though. And that was something Colin Chapman insisted in making his cars light in weight. A 1.2-liter engine powered this machine. It wasn't a powerhouse, but it sure was fun. Another Lamborghini, the Aventur. BMW. Now, they're saying the 3-liter coupe, 72 to 75, but there was actually a series of coupes, starting with the 2-liter coupe that used the same basic body. 2-liter, 2.8, 3-liter, 3.3-liter. They raced. They called them the Batmobile in racing. These were tremendously fast, light in weight, and amazingly agile on the track. I can remember going to a BMW dealer in Hermosa Beach, and he had body shells in white in crates so he could build race cars. And they were very, very competitive cars until BMW decided that the BMW 320i, or 320, was going to supersede this car in IMSA and international racing. Did quite well, though. But the Batmobile, that is a car to behold. The BMW 3.0 CSL and all its variants. Porsche 356s. Any Porsche 356 right now is big bucks and highly desirable. The Speedster, the Carrera, those are the ones on top of the heap, but this is the car that put Porsche on the map worldwide. Now, they weren't a major manufacturer. As a matter of fact, in some years, they only produced a few thousand cars, 4,000 to 5,000 cars in a year. They all seemed to end up here in New York or California. So people thought they were a major manufacturer. They became more and more popular. People loved them. They had some variants. James Dean's car, for example, very, very good race car. And James Dean in his first 2 races showed the people how good it was, along with his driving skills, winning races one after another. Mazda RX-7. You got to go back. They're saying 93 to 95, but let's go back to the first RX-7s. All RX-7s were an exciting, affordable sports car. Hi, Barry Seifert, Tom Rosenbaum. How are you? Marcia, how are you doing today? So the RX-7 definitely holds a spot in history as an iconic machine. All right, one more car. We're going to do the top 50, and this one ends up being another Ferrari, an F50. Okay. Now, they're also adding, I'm going to go 51 on this one. This is the Tesla Model S. And whether you're for electric vehicles or not, you've got to give Elon Musk the credit for producing an exciting-looking car that does what it's supposed to do. It's an electric vehicle. It's beautiful. It looks like a real car, not some cobbled together little machine. Now, he did start out with a converted Lotus, but he made his mark and did it well. But check it out. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got Gas, the morning edition. You have a great day. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Gas, the Great American Auto Scene. Since 1990, your award-winning podcast, radio show, and TV show, as a matter of fact. Take care now. Brought to you by Service Tech Equipment. Check them out.